Good morning, everyone. I know we don't have as many people here as we did a month ago, but that's okay. Really, all we're trying to do is give you some information and a little bit of practice that gets you better prepared for next year, next semester. If you happen to sign up for the grade 10 Comtech class, we will be doing Inkscape in grade 10 Comtech. We'll be doing Photoshop in grade 11 and 12. But vector-based drawing programs are still the focus in grade 10. So we've looked at some basics of how to create anchor nodes and lines, how to color them in, how to manipulate them a little bit. The mindset that you need to take on with vector-based drawing is the concept of how images are created. So I'm going to pop open some grade 10 projects from previous years, and these are some really good grade 10 projects. And I want you to take note of the mindset or the concept of how they're put together. All right, I'm going to slide up. I'm going to show you this Tom and Jerry button. Now, when it comes time for you to do work in grade 10, you're going to be evaluated based on rubrics, and the rubric is going to be divided up into categories. Categories like your use of color, your use of text, your use of the background, your use of the foreground and the midground, the complexity of the objects that you create, the curve and the smoothness of the lines. All these different categories will be judged level 1 through 4. Level 1 meaning that you did not show very much control over the tool, but you did use the tool in an attempt to create something that conveyed a message. Level 2 would be that you had some good control over the elements that you created, but that you certainly could have more control and more attention to detail, at least on the curvings of your lines or on the layering of your objects. Level 3 is when you actually produce something that shows a control over your work, an understanding of the lessons that we're going to be doing in class, a message that is being conveyed. In this case, a message of two characters, not only what they look like, but also how they interact. So you've always got Tom chasing Jerry, because Tom is the cat and Jerry is the mouse. And then you've got the level 3 pluses and the level 4s, where your work goes beyond what's expected. Remember, level 3 is always the standard that you're trying to reach. And level 3 plus, level 4, and level 4 plus are for when little details like the shadows on the ground, the hill that they're running across, the little cityscape in the background, the clouds, the sky, the drop shadow on the lettering, the filling of the outer edge. This project is called a button project, and the concept behind it is if you've ever gone to a Comic-Con or any sort of convention, there's always souvenirs you can buy, things you can take away to remember your time there. And one of the most popular at those types of conventions are pins and buttons, because they allow fans of certain TV shows and certain movies and genres to come away with something that has directly to do with their passion, their favorite show. Much like a t-shirt, right? These buttons get bought and then they get pinned onto purses and shirts and backpacks, and they help identify you as a fan of the genre. So in creating this element, I want you to see how it is layered. That's the big thing we're going to move on to. I'm going to shift and zoom in. We're going to take a look at Jerry, the little mouse down at the bottom. Now, as you can see, this is absolutely a very well done project, easily level 4 plus, something that I thought is beyond what I expected for a grade 10, let alone for a grade 9. But it's still a good place to start. When you look at this image, what you have to realize is that every object that is colored differently has been created individually and then layered on top of each other. Remember, the order in which you draw something is the order in which they lay on the page. So the very first thing you're going to want to draw is going to be the outline of the mouse's body, and you're going to want to color that this medium brown. And then you are going to have to put the fleshy part of the ear, and you're going to have to build that and lay it on top of the brown body. And the black eyebrows and the white eyes go on top of the brown body. And then the black pupil goes on top of the white eyeball. And then the flesh-colored snout goes on top of the brown body. And then the black nose goes on top of the flesh-colored snout. And then the little highlight of light on the tip of the nose goes on top of the black nose. The black interior of the mouth goes on top of the body. And then the red tongue goes on top of the black mouth. So let's take a peek at this for a moment. I'm going to left mouse click and select this button. And if you see over here on the side, you can tell that there's a selection box created and all the elements that are inside have been grouped. I'm going to right mouse click and ungroup them. And the moment I do, you will notice a whole bunch of little selection boxes, because now all of the individual elements are going to be accessible. I'm going to slide over here to the side, and I am going to deselect the button so that I can now go in and select the elements separately. So here is the fleshy interior part of the ear, right? Drawn as a separate element, because again, what happened first? We drew the outline of the entire body and we colored that in brown. Then we created the inner ear and we colored that something different and we laid it in position. Obviously before that, the green hill was made before. So everything goes in layers, and I'm going to be teaching you how to use layers to your advantage today just by drawing in certain orders, and then in days to come how to change the order of objects as they lay on the page in case you draw something out of the proper order. Anyway, let's go back and take another look. There is the snout, drawn as a separate element. And then there is the black nose, drawn as a separate element. Oops, I grabbed the outline instead. I'm going to talk about outlines in a few minutes, because outlines as an artist is one of your absolute best ways in order to control the look of your object. So if I drag the outline up and out of the way, I'm just going to put it here for the moment, and I'll slide back down and back over. Now I've got direct access to more of the small pieces. There are the pupils in his eyes, drawn as separate elements. There's the cheek and chin. There's the black interior of the mouth. There's the red interior of the mouth. Here's part of the head and brown body. Here's part of the lower body. There's the lighter color on his chest. There's the lighter color on his foot. So everything gets created in individual geometric shapes and gets layered on top to, Control Z, create the overall effect that you are eventually looking to create. Okay? It's pretty straightforward, but it requires you to really have a thought process in mind as to how you're going to build something. So let's play around with that thought process. What I would like you to do today is I would like you to consider jumping on the internet and grabbing anything you want. Start with something simple. Okay, I'm just going to start with a simple image of Homer J. Simpson. I'm going to Google Homer J. Simpson. I do not want to jump in and get there. I want to bring up his image. I want to drag it to my desktop and let go. If I can see the image in the little icon on the desktop, then it will be importable into InkScape. Click OK, and up pops the Homer J. Simpson image. I'm going to zoom out, Shift -sign, and I'm going to use this as my template. Now, I certainly can zoom in, and in grade 10, you are going to learn an awful lot about how I consider zooming in to be the absolute best way to work. And now the mentality is actually pretty simple once you understand it. Grab your Bezier tool. Trace along the outside edge. Put in as many nodes as you need to do as good a job as you need to do. Remember, later we can always go in and we can delete nodes, smooth nodes, adjust handles, whatever it takes in order to make the image work in your favor. I like zooming in because I know that as soon as I get to the edge of the screen, I don't have to stop. I just go over to my slider handles. I slide down, and I continue working. Remember, I'm going to want to outline his entire body. And then I'll go back in, and I'll do the other individual elements later. Over my slider handle. Down I go. Now when I say his entire body, I'm talking about anything that is colored similarly. So I'm going to do his head. Not going to worry about his shirt. That's going to be a separate element. Just come down to here, and I'll create the V in the neck. And back up. I'm not worried about the bottom of his chin yet. That's going to be a separate element. Just going to start by making sure I get the entire exterior. Now, I would be going a little bit slower, although just because I've done this so much, I can't help but make lots of nodes because I know that it will help me later. And as we learned in previous lessons, you are going to want to end your object where you began by clicking on the initial first node. Because if you do that, if you end on the node that you started with, you can see how it turns red when I hover over it. Click. You will end up with an outline. I'm going to take that outline and I'm going to drag it over. Now I'm going to zoom out. Now I'm going to begin the coloring of my work. Right? So, I mean, not bad. That took all of 4 minutes. And that is a recognizable outer shell of Homer Simpson's head. Yes, I will go in and I will smooth the nodes out so that the ear is more curved, and any place where there may be a node that looks a little bit jagged, I will fix it. But for now, I want to go back in with the Bezier tool, and I want to do his eyes. Because it's a separate object that I am going to want to put in. Don't worry about his nose. We'll get to his nose and we will get to creating black outlines for things like that. Again, every time I move, I'm left mouse clicking to lock in an anchor node. Finish where I start. Grab my transform move tool, drag it over, place it in the proper spot, and I will line all these up soon. I will go in, I will zoom in, I will make them line up better later. There's the white of his eye. Now I will zoom in. How about in instead of out? And now I will manipulate a few nodes, grabbing my Edit Paths by Nodes tool. Just going to drag this over a little bit. Edit Paths by Nodes tool. So now what can I do? I can drag those nodes to fit exactly on the edge of the element I drew before. And look, here's a great example. Doesn't fit properly? No problem. Double click, create a new node, drag it over. Okay, here's what I want you to do today. Have some fun. Jump on the internet. Go grab anything that you like. If you like anime, use an anime. If you like Homer Simpson, do a Simpson character. If you like any other graphic novel or cartoon, just start with something simple, because you don't want to be spending your time working on this for hours. You just want to get a feel for how to build the body first, then the eyes on top, and then the mouth on top of that, and then the shirt. And then tomorrow we'll talk about adding all these little detail pieces and making the outline, and I can do that now, a little bit thicker. And that's my time, because I know that YouTube is not going to like it when I go too much over 15 minutes. So all I'm going to do now is right mouse click, up my outline size, and tell you to have some fun, and we'll see you tomorrow.